Whether it's a small splashback above your sink or a whole wall of tiles like this, in this video I'm going to be showing you how to tile a wall, and I will give you some tips and tricks along the way. I would recommend firstly that you see the other videos in this series where I show you how to set out tiles, what tools you need, how to mix adhesive, how to waterproof a bathroom, and a whole lot of other information you'll find in the advice centre on the Tile Warehouse website. Obviously, before we start anything, we need to think a little bit about PPE. So make sure you wear your goggles when you're cutting tiles, your dust mask when you're mixing adhesive and that dust is coming up out the bucket, and gloves for manual hand. I need to go and get my gloves. Anyway, let's get back to tiling. So before we start tiling on a wall, we need to make sure that the wall that we're going to tile on is flat and smooth. Any joints or hollows need to be filled and the surface needs to be flat and clean. The final look of your tiling is really going to mirror the wall underneath. So a bit of time spent preparing your wall at this point will pay dividends. Here I'm starting my tiling on a straight level batten, as floors are never exactly even, so you shouldn't trust them. So I screw a batten onto the wall, one tile up from the bottom, and once I've finished my tiling I can go back and remove the batten and just fill in the bottom row. If you see my video on setting out wall tiles, you'll know what this is. This is a gauge rod where I've marked the tiles out on it, which helps me work out where they should go left and right, which I've just done to make sure that I haven't got any silly slithers either end. I've got 2 points down here, one for each alternating course. And all I'm going to do with a pencil and a spiral level is to draw 2 clear vertical lines on the wall. That way, as I start tiling up, I'll be able to align my vertical joints with those lines to make sure that everything ends up plumb and nicely in line. If you start wandering off, it's never really a very good look. Instead of marking the wall, obviously you can just use a spirit level as you go along, or even a laser level to line things up if you have one. With this done, I can start mixing and spreading my adhesive. I trowel it on with the flat side of my trowel first, and at this stage I'm aiming to cover just enough of the wall to lay maybe 2 courses of tiles. With the notched edge of the trowel, I then carry out a final pass, leaving the adhesive with ridges ready to accept the tiles. It's important that these ridges are all in the same direction, which will help them push out the air and collapse as they should do. A small area of adhesive can be wiped away so you can see exactly where the joint line is, and then line the tiles up with this. The first row here is sitting directly onto the batten. I give each tile a small push and twist to help collapse the ridges in the adhesive, meaning that I've got good coverage between the tile and the wall, and then I use a 3mm spacer to separate them evenly. So it's never too long before you need to cut a tile, and I've got 2 cuts on every course here, one at either end. The one I've got here is between the last full tile and this architrave. So all I'm going to do is measure the distance between them, then take off 3mm for the spacer that I know is going to go between the tiles, and then another 2 or 3mm just so the tile doesn't touch the architrave. I'm obviously aware that the door has got vibration in it and the architrave will move a little bit as well, and I don't want the tile touching that. At the end, that little gap I can just fill with some silicone that will take up any movement in the future, rather than grout that may crack, and that should last many years. 1, 6, 7. Then I take away the 3mm for the spacer and 2mm just to keep clear of the architrave. So that's 5mm in total. So 167 minus 5mm is 162. The next course I start on the other vertical line I've drawn onto the wall and use spacers under the tile so everything is lined up evenly. And as you're fixing tiles like these, it's important that the adhesive doesn't squeeze out of the grout joints between the tiles, because if it does, you're going to have a real problem getting the right colour grout into those joints. You really want them clean and open, ready for grout. So when I place a tile, I'll place it right in the corner against the two tiles that I want it to touch, and then give it a push and just make sure that we've got around about 3 millimeters either side. I can then come back with my spacers, pop those in, and it means that I've got a nice clean joint through here with no squeeze out of any grout. There we go. Lovely. Even using this little trick, there will still be times when adhesive squeezes through the joints, and I find cleaning them up as I go a lot easier than leaving them until they're set and hard. And just one last little tip, if you need to stop because it's the end of the day or you've got more work to do, I'm stopping here because I've got some pipes to sort out here before I carry on, then everything above the line of your tiles needs to be removed, all of that adhesive and everything. Else, if you don't, you're going to come back and there's going to be all this set adhesive in the way. So as I'm stopping here, now I'm going to remove all of that. And I would always recommend leaving your tiling overnight to cure and gain some strength before you do anything else. I tiled this yesterday, so now this has all gone off and I can retrieve my leveling clips ready for my next tiling exploit. I hope you've enjoyed this video and I've given you some tips that will help with your wall tiling. I will see you in the next video.